The barn was on fire, and everyone stood frozen watching it burn. Tom Hollies did not stand frozen. He ran straight at it. "Tom, no, it's too late," a man shouted from the crowd. Tom did not stop. He grabbed the big water barrel by the well, the one it took 2 normal men to lift, and threw it over his shoulder like it was nothing. People gasped. A little boy pointed and laughed, not a mean laugh, just a shocked one, because no man should be able to lift a barrel that size and run with it too. Tom threw the water on the flames. Then he ran back for more, again and again. His shirt burned in one spot. He did not stop to check it. Inside the barn, 3 of his best cows were trapped, kicking and crying out in fear. Tom did something even more shocking then. He walked straight into the smoke. "He's going to die in there," a woman cried. He did not die. Minutes later, Tom walked back out, coughing, his face black with soot, and under each huge arm he carried a full-grown cow, kicking and mooing like they weighed nothing at all. He went back one more time for the 3rd. The fire died down, the barn was saved, the cows were saved. The crowd stared at him in silence. Nobody said thank you right away. Nobody stepped closer to pat his back the way they would for any other man. An old rancher finally spoke, quiet and slow. "Strange thing, ain't it? Strongest man this valley's ever seen, and still eats his supper alone every night." Tom heard him. He always heard things like that. He looked down at his burned hands, at the cows he had just saved, at the people who stood a careful few steps back from him, same as always. Then he picked up his hat, put it back on his head, and walked home to his empty house, alone, the way he always did. The stagecoach wheel snapped clean in half, right at the edge of town. Elizabeth Grant did not scream. She grabbed her trunk before it could roll into the ditch and stood in the dust, watching the driver curse at the broken wheel. A crowd gathered fast the way small towns do. They stared at her, not the wheel. "That's the giant's land you're headed to," someone whispered. "Right next to it anyway." Elizabeth turned. "Who?" Nobody answered right away. They just looked toward the hills, toward a ranch far off, like even saying his name took courage. She found out soon enough. Mrs. Higgins at the store told her plainly. Big Tom Hollies, near 7 feet tall, strongest man in the valley, kept to himself. Folks were careful around him. "Careful how?" Elizabeth asked. "Just careful," Mrs. Higgins said, and left it at that. The next morning, Elizabeth rode out alone to ask him about her uncle's land. She found him lifting a fence post that should have needed 2 men. He turned, saw her, and went stiff, like he was waiting for her to run. She did not run. "That's fine work," she said, nodding at the fence. Tom blinked. Nobody talked to him like that, like he was just a man, not a wall to be afraid of. "Thank you, ma'am," he said slowly, like the words were rusty from lack of use. She asked her questions about the water lines and the fences. He answered, careful and quiet at first, then a little less careful. Days passed. She kept coming back and he kept walking beside her, showing her the land. Neither one called it friendship out loud, but it was there, growing quiet as morning light. One afternoon, Tom laughed at something small she said, a real laugh surprised out of him. Elizabeth smiled, pleased with herself. Neither one noticed the man watching from the road, jaw tight, eyes narrow, already deciding he did not like what he saw. The saloon door slammed open and every head turned. Jack Corrigan stood there, face red, a torn letter crushed in his fist. "She turned me down," he said to no one and everyone. "For him." Nobody had to ask who he meant. By the next morning, a new story moved through Dry Creek, passed hand to hand like a bad coin. Big Tom Hollies had a temper, they said. Tom Hollies had hurt a man once bad. Folks who had never once feared Tom before suddenly crossed the street when they saw him coming. Tom heard none of it directly. He felt it instead, in the way eyes dropped when he walked into the feed store, in the way conversations stopped and started again too quickly. Then Jack found him there, alone by the grain sacks. "Careful Hollies," Jack said, smiling like a knife smiling. "A woman like that wants a real man, not some oversized farmhand who scares little children." Tom said nothing, but something old and buried cracked open in his chest, a memory of another voice, another woman, saying almost the same words years ago. That evening, Elizabeth rode out to the ranch, same as always. Tom stood by the fence, not meeting her eyes. "Maybe you should stop coming out here," he said. "Why?" Elizabeth asked, stepping closer instead of away. "Folks are talking. It's not right, a fine lady like you spending her days with someone like me." "Someone like you," her voice was soft but it did not shake. "Tom, look at me. What are you saying?" He could not look at her. "You deserve someone normal-sized, someone the town won't laugh at you for choosing." "Is that what you believe?" she asked. "Or what someone taught you to believe a long time ago?" Tom's throat tightened. No answer came. He turned and walked into the barn, leaving her standing alone in the fading light. She did not cry until she was halfway home. That night, 2 windows in Dry Creek stayed lit long after midnight, both of them dark with the same quiet, aching doubt. The bridge cracked like a gunshot, and Elizabeth's horse screamed as the wood gave way beneath it. She hit the water hard, cold, fast, pulling her under before she could even scream twice. In town, someone did scream. "She's in the river, the bridge is gone." Jack Corrigan stood near the saloon, safe and dry, and did not move. He just stared, pale, his boots planted in the mud like they had grown roots. Tom moved before the words had even finished, leaving the messenger's mouth. He ran, 7 feet of him, faster than anyone had ever seen him move, faster than his own heart could keep up with. He was not thinking about the town or the whispers or Jack's cruel smile. He was thinking one thing only, not her, not like this. He hit the riverbank just as Elizabeth's head slipped under. He dove in without 1 second of hesitating. The current grabbed him hard, cold and strong, like it wanted to keep him too, but Tom fought it. His size, the very thing the town had always feared, was suddenly the only thing that mattered. He reached her. His huge hand closed around her arm and pulled her up against his chest. He swam. He fought the river step by step until his boots finally found solid ground, and he dragged them both out of the water. Elizabeth coughed, gasped, breathed. The whole town had gathered by then, silent, watching the giant kneel in the mud, holding her like she was the only thing in the world. "You saved me," she whispered. "I couldn't lose you," he said, voice breaking. "I don't care what this town says anymore. I only care about you." Elizabeth looked at him, rain on both their faces, and for the first time saw no giant, only a good man. "Marry me," she said. "I have never felt as safe as I do right now." Tom trembled, tears mixing with the rain. "Yes," he said, "1,000 times yes." The crowd cheered. Jack disappeared into the crowd, silent, small.